On a gorgeous day at one of the world's most daunting racetracks, it's time for IndyCar racing in Wisconsin, in Elkhart Lake at Road America. It's the Kohler Grand Prix, and let's go trackside for the command.
Road America race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Here to give the command, please welcome today's Grand Marshal, President, Kitchen and Bath Americas for Kohler, Mr. Chris Baldwin.
Drivers, start your engines!
So as the engines fire, it's somewhat of a challenge to articulate just how special this racing venue is to each and every one of these drivers. They love it. They love the challenge, Marty, and they're about to take it on again.
And Lee, Sebastian Bourdais, certainly familiar with this Road America course, 4 miles around, and in his 5 starts here at Road America, he's finished on the podium 4 of those times. He told me this weekend, though, it's been very different. He said, I'm really struggling to get a feel for the race car. What I want is some predictability in the car. So they made some changes, and they're certainly going to lean on his experience to get him back to the podium here in Wisconsin, Kevin.
Marty, we haven't talked about Takuma Sato today, or really much this season. After winning the 500 last year, it was thought he might take another jump up and help elevate this team. But it's been a rough start this season, not because of crashes or DNFs, but he is starting to find his stride. 2 best results within the last 3 races, and Takuma said he feels more optimistic than he has going into this race today, Kelly.
Well, Kevin, it could be a very exciting race for the driver of that bright orange Honda. The young rookie, Zach Veach, is teeming with confidence this weekend. So much so that yesterday during practice, he decided to see if he could go flat out in turn 13. You see, it didn't quite work out, and other than a close call with teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay, it was really no harm, no foul. Zach told me that he's got a lot of confidence in the car, a lot of confidence in his crew, and he is ready to push things today. He starts 11th, Robin.
23 cars in the grid today, kids. 18 of them were within a second of each other when they qualified. Now, I know it's a spec series, and I know Honda and Chevy are pretty close, but think about that. 18 cars around a 4-mile racetrack qualified within a second of each other. 2 tenths, you were 6th. 2 tenths back, you were 16th. So guess what? If today's race is anything like qualifying was, we got a hell of a show coming up, Lee Diffie.
Oh, Robin, it's fantastic, and I think if we can keep it like that, what a day we're in store for. 55 laps around Road America. And speaking about the track, Townsend, let's take a closer look.
Well, it's exactly 4.014 miles around, 14 corners, the longest track on the schedule, and it starts with that front straightaway over 180 miles an hour as you barrel down into turn 1, which is deceivingly quick. Minimum speed in turn 1 drops to about 115. We'll ride on board with Sebastian Bourdais. There you see it, 185 top speed, down to 4th gear. Lots of curb at the exit. You exit turn 3, get another long run down to turn 5, the heaviest brake zone on the track. Great passing opportunity. Remember, the drivers will have 200 seconds of push to pass. Here, Bourdais takes us all the way down to 1st gear, and you really have to be patient as you roll the power on up the hill. And then the carousel, a really unique corner. Really no other place in the world that has a corner quite like this. It is wicked quick. It's banked, so it'll hold you right inside the bowl, but if you just get a couple inches too high, you can go off, especially late in the race as the marbles build to the outside. There goes Bourdais, exiting at 150, and then it's a wide open run all the way down to your favorite corner, Paul, Canada corner.
Absolutely, Canada corner down here. Big braking opportunity, another good passing spot. 185 miles an hour down to about 80 miles an hour at the apex. Up the hill, almost wide open here, 145 mile an hour corner, and they finish off the lap coming up the front straightaway, and this is 140 mile an hour average speed for the lap. And PT, you talk about this front straight that we see the 2-seater going up now. Road America track facts from Mike's Hard Lemonade. Yes, it has the longest straight on active road and street courses at 0.8 of a mile. Long Beach, you could argue, is not really a straight with that right-hand sweeper, but nonetheless, 0.8 of a mile, stretching up that steep hill and all the way up towards turn 1. Time to show you where your favorite drivers are starting in today's Kohler Grand Prix, round 10 of 17 races on this year's schedule. But what do you guys feel in your gut? You know, we've talked about, Robin highlighted the fact of how close they were in
practice and qualifying. What does your racing gut tell you that we're going to see today?
I think we're going to see great racing because of the more drag that this aero kit has produced, the bigger hole that's going to punch for the leading car and the trailing car, I should say. And I see a lot of muscle up here. Guys like Robert Wickens and Sebastian Bourdais. It seems like all the best drivers are up front, Paul, today.
Oh, absolutely. But it's tough all the way through the field with the whole field separated by 1 second. Watch for guys like Graham Rahal want to move through the field. The key today is how much downforce did you put on, how much drag do you have, and fuel mileage when you pit. Because if you can go a lap further here on a 4-mile track, it pays huge benefits in terms of how the race plays out.
All the way back to row 10, you see a couple guys that be looking for a very big day, need to really jumpstart their season, like Charlie Kimball and Matthias Leist. And then you've got a rookie, Alfonso Silis Jr. He had an off in practice, but not a lot of experience there. Gabby Chavez picking up the rear.
Time to guide you through our onboard coverage today. And we kick things off with the Schmidt-Peterson Arrow Electronics car of James Hinchcliffe. And this onboard view brought to you by Lucas Oil. And Hinch is looking for a good performance today. Relay provides us these picks on board the 26 machine of Zach Veach, who's feeling pretty racy this weekend. We'll see what the young American can produce. And a local company in Gale is providing Graham Rahal's view for us today. Graham's had some really good results here over the years. Would love to get another one today. Scott Dixon we're going to look in on, of course, because he is the championship leader. And Scott's view for us today brought to you by PNC Bank, the same sponsor that adorns that Ganassi Honda. How about Alexander Rossi? He's always given us plenty of great onboard views. And this one brought to you by Verizon. And speaking of Verizon, carrying the Verizon streaming camera today is Sebastian Bourdais. And you can go inside IndyCar all season long by downloading IndyCar Mobile exclusively from Verizon, America's best streaming network. So there you have it, folks. It's all set up for you. It's a beautiful day. We're at a classic old road course. The championship has seen 5 different leaders from 9 races so far, and the lead of the championship has changed 8 different times in those 9 races, and it could change again today. And throughout the course of an IndyCar season, there's very much, it's compartmentalized and it's staged. How do you open the season? How do you get through the month of May? And then once you cross into the second half of the season, which is exactly where we are now, you start looking towards the season finale in Sonoma.
You certainly do, but it's stacked up right now, and they're all coming to the front straight away, Lee, so we'll see what happens here.
It is an all Penske front row. Championship is tight, a lot on the line, and for those who haven't scored a win here at this classic circuit, they want to get one today. Josef Newgarden leads the field to green. Let's go racing in Wisconsin at Road America. Great start, Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alexander Rossi.
Power got completely snookered by Newgarden on that start. He's lost 6, 7 positions, more positions, 9, 10. Horrible start for Power. I don't know if he's got a problem.
There's something wrong with his car, surely.
Has to be.
Look, he's ailing. What is up with Will Power's car from the front row to almost last in 2 corners?
Real quickly, and he said engine, so I'm going to check with Roger Penske right now to find out what exactly happened with Will Power, but they are all kind of talking to each other here on the timing stand. Does seem like he's back out to Power now, and now Will is saying, what do you want me to do? So further investigation here for the 12 team, but obviously an engine issue going on.
Wow.
Look at Wickens trying to challenge Rossi. Rossi having none of that, and that's what I was talking about. Elbows out today.
Elbows out like St. Pete. He just muscled Wickens right off the track. He lost a couple positions. Wickens will be like, hey, we've done this before. I'm not going for that again.
Forcefully on the inside there, you notice the fuzzy Chevrolet of Jordan King. That was a nice move. A lot of positional changes on this opening lap. Tony Kanaan with a good start. TK's made up 5 positions.
I was watching Simon Pagino back there in the bright yellow Menards car with Marco Andretti. As we see more action, that's Ed Jones with Zach Clayman DeMello. And up front, Ryan Hunter-Reay all over Newgarden.
Now we're going to see the test. He's within range now for push to pass. We'll see on the front straightaway who's got the superior power. Hunter-Reay is right there. If he can stay close and get pushed to pass up the hill with the draft, we might see a pass for the lead.
Fabulous start too from Takuma Sato, who runs 4th. So End of the opening lap. It's Josef Newgarden, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Andretti teammate in Alexander Rossi, and then Sato, Sebastian Bourdais in the top 5. Here's a replay of the start. Look to the right. Car 12. The Verizon Chevy Will Power just watching the whole field sweep on by.
I know that feeling. In 2001, I had a similar thing happen. I started 6th, went all the way to the back. Rossi right here, under review now is what we're hearing for pushing him wide. I didn't see any contact, but he definitely was aggressive with Wickens.
I don't see any problem with that. Frankly, that corner, that's a single file line, and there's really no place to go at the exit. Oh, Marco Andretti and Graham Rahal. I'll tell you what, this is shaping up like a motocross race right now.
Oh, look at this back here with the...
This is Jordan King again. Jordan has made up 12 positions from his starting spot. He is flying in that Ed Carpenter Racing Chevy. And he's got his teammate Spencer Pigot right with him.
Will Power in the pits. He's got engine cover coming off. Obviously now we think he's got an ignition box type problem, and they'll probably switch.
And guys, it's a boost issue. He did shut the engine off just now. It did not sound a full song when it came to pit road. They did have him cycle the power in the car, so they did try that. That did not solve the problem. And this is a team who clearly had a great month of May. Won the Indy GP, then won the Indy 500, but then had a disastrous Texas 2 weeks ago. Finished 18th in that race. They fell to 3rd in the championship standings, 36 points out of the lead coming into this race, but an early exit it looks like for Will Power. He is sitting in the car now as they try to diagnose exactly what it is, Lee.
Oh, just gut-wrenching. Dominated the month of May, and since then it has been frustrating. Marco Andretti is looking racy today, huh?
Well, along with Zach Veach, Pagano, the ECR teammates of Jordan King and Spencer Pigot, there is some great action all through the field. Veach having a look at Pagano. Here comes Jordan King coming back on Tony Kanaan.
Yeah, we've got some really, really hard racing going on midfield from Pagano back. It just seems like Pagano is kind of holding up this train as we look at Veach right on the back of him.
Show you a replay just a few moments ago of Marco Andretti and Graham Rahal. This is down the hill into turn 5. Watch this. One side to the other.
That's a double move.
I would put that under review.
Squeezed him one way, squeezed him the other. So that would definitely fall under, hey, that's a reactionary move, because he went both ways on him. And they touch wheels right there. No harm, no foul, but that's definitely not what the stewards like.
Well, that was 2 reactions. You're not allowed 1, so we'll see how that's judged. But it is fierce. Everybody knows that track position's critical at this stage, as is fuel mileage. Veach getting wide there. That's where you have to be really careful late in the race. You can get away with that early, but if you have a moment like that late in the race as the marbles build, very easy to go off in the carousel.
Car going behind the wall of Will Power, so this is really a disastrous day as we see a car got a run on Pagano, and he blocks to the inside, so Pagano's definitely struggling. He's way off the pace as Pigot gets underneath the over-under on the outside.
Tough
you
place
can't
to
go
pass.
2 abreast there.
Wow, what a move from Spencer Pigot.
He made it work. Absolutely outstanding, and that's a young American driver who knows he needs to start putting up some results to validate the faith that Ed Carpenter, the team owner, has shown in him with a full season opportunity. And so far today, he looks like a guy that is charging to the front. There goes Kanaan on Veach.
Kanaan's been racy early on. Meanwhile, Spencer Pigot there just going through shot. This is a very special place to him as we ride along with Zach Veach. Pigot got his very first IndyCar top 10 result here 2 years ago.
Whoa. He's been like driving like that all weekend, super loose.
It's one of the key overtaking points coming up here down the hill into turn 10. Alexander Rossi lights it up, but it's been the pole man. It's been the race leader every lap so far. Josef Newgarden out in front. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Allstate. Are you in good hands? And by United Rentals, official equipment rental services provider of IndyCar and proud sponsor of Graham Rahal. And by Honda, an official vehicle of the Verizon IndyCar Series. I tried to do my best Dennis Haysbert voiceover there where, are you in good hands? But my voice isn't deep enough to mirror his. I worked with him once. What a lovely gentleman.
Really good guys. We welcome you back to Road America as Josef Newgarden leads the way.
And look at this, Josef Newgarden along with another young American, Noah Lyles. Now, Lee, you jetted, speaking of speed, you jetted over here last night from the U.S. Track and Field Championships there in Des Moines. How was it?
Oh, it was unreal. Noah Lyles, I mean, talk about these two young American stars. Noah Lyles ran a 100-meter final in 9:88. That's the fastest time in the world this year. And interesting to note, that was over 100 meters. This track's over 4 miles, but the time between the top 7, so from Noah to 7th in that 100-meter final, was about 0.67 of a second spread. From Josef to 7th place in this was 0.72. Super tight, two completely different sports, all about speed.
One of the storylines of this race and one of the strategies is you guys have talked about how much downforce do you use, fast in the straightaways, give up something in the corners. But the other thing that it really impacts is tire degradation. There was a lot of concern for many, including Ryan Hunter-Reay, especially a little bit for Alexander Rossi, about tire degradation. So the higher the downforce, the better the tires should last, and that's both what they have, higher downforce. So maybe those guys are a little better at the end of a stint than some others that are mid-range downforce.
Kevin back in the paddock. Will Power, some furious work going on his car right now. They have diagnosed it's a header issue for Will Power. This racetrack very rough here at Road America. They're talking about maybe repaving it sometime down the road. And also, Townsend, you run over these curbs pretty hard when you're going through, especially qualifying. Yesterday, you're trying to get every little tenth of a second you can out of the race car. So a broken right side header for Will Power. They're trying to get that replaced and fixed right now.
Team Penske guys working as hard as they can, as fast as they can, to get that problem resolved for Will Power. Here's Alexander Rossi in 3rd, pushing hard, chasing his Andretti Autosport teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay. Do you remember how the season started for this man who wants to be an IndyCar champ? Because seeing Alexander Rossi and Robert Wickens on track earlier in this race certainly brings memories of St. Petersburg, Florida back.
Well, probably good ones for Rossi and not so good ones for Robert Wickens, because that's at least the second time this year that Wickens has come out with the shorter end of the stick. This was St. Petersburg, move for the win. Rossi going to the inside of Wickens, who led almost all day, and boom, contact. Wickens spins, gets into the wall. Rossi finishes on the podium, and then earlier today on lap 1, Paul, this happened.
Yeah, no contact here. They looked at it, but he definitely pushed Wickens wide. Wickens lost like 3 positions right there in one corner, and he's kind of fell off of this lead pack right now that's just sitting on Josef Newgarden. So watch the lone Chevy up front, and then you got a whole pack of Hondas behind him. So we're gonna see here if these Hondas make better fuel mileage and can go a lap longer than the Chevy that's out front.
I think it's important to say that, as you can imagine, Robert Wickens was pretty sour after St. Petersburg. But these two guys, as you look at the Firestone telemetry, had a wonderful race in Phoenix. And as soon as that Phoenix race was over, Rossi went over to Wickens and congratulated him and said, that was fun, that was good.
Watching Rossi trying to make some headway there, see if he can get into maybe a tow with his teammate. Just looking at push to pass, the front 5 cars really haven't burned anything except for Hunter-Reay. 2 seconds have been burned to push to pass. Further down, some of the younger drivers like Ed Jones, Zach Veach. Zach Veach has less than 99 seconds remaining. So those young guys, especially the rookie, they're firing through their push to pass like my 15-year-old going through his tip money at Barney's.
Busy hands for Rossi. You can see he's a little bit loose coming off the corner. So he's got a little bit of power on oversteer. See how the balance is here in the carousel. Only a little bit of sawing of the wheel. See a little bit loose right there. So he's got a lack of rear grip on the red. So we'll see how he tries to tune this out on the first pit stop.
Oversteer through the carousel is not something you want.
No, not at all.
It's one of the most daunting corners in motorsport.
Got to say that Sebastian Bourdais looks to be the best of this bunch. He seems to be able to close here on Takuma Satos, who's having a good run, but Bourdais draws closer and closer to the group, so that's a very promising sign as the track temperature continues to rise, as the sun gets a little higher. Right now, 107-degree track temperature.
Bourdais felt that yesterday he only really turned one good lap. He just said, I couldn't really find anything, Marty. He said, I was suffering from understeer, and I feel I only really did one good lap yesterday, all day.
And Diff, you know, that's a great point, because he told me, I just want some predictability in this race car. So that's what they tried to add, a couple of changes to the car. Craig Hampson also just told him a minute ago, they initially were thinking maybe we can go to lap 15 on this first stint before we stop. It's a fuel mileage game today, but he just told him we can't reach that number at 15, so go a little harder. So they're going to pit about lap 14 for that 18 car.
Top 5 for Sebastian Bourdais at the moment, and he's less than 3.5 seconds behind that man there, the Verizon Chevy driver for Team Penske, Josef Newgarden, desperately seeking a win. Can he do what he did in Barber Motorsports Park earlier this year from pole to victory lane? We will see. What a race it's been so far. Plenty of action here at Road America. Woo. As you saw at home, problems for Sebastian Bourdais. The Sealmaster Honda driver for Dale Coyne Racing with Vassar Sullivan is back out on track, but has lost a massive amount of time and distance. He was running really well in the top 5. And he had an electrical issue that forced him to come in. Now reminding you that next Sunday, 15-time most popular driver Dale Earnhardt Jr. trades in his helmet for a microphone. Yes, when Junior joins the NBCSN team for the Monster Energy Cup Series race from Chicagoland Speedway. That's next Sunday at 2:30 Eastern, right here on NBCSN. Hey Marty, tell us more about Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah, riding along with the Sealmaster Honda, and unfortunately it was a gear control unit. They came down pit road and they cycled the power. That seemed to solve the issue, but he plummeted through the field, Lee. He was running up in the top 5, as we mentioned earlier, but now having to come from way behind. But if this cycles out, might work out okay, who knows? There are other drivers and other teams trying a forced drop strategy today, as long as it holds together electrically.
This time a week ago, Sebastian got to stand on the class podium at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, where he was born. He's had some wonderful history there, and of course driving for the Chip Ganassi Ford GT team. Meanwhile, we get back to the front, and Josef Newgarden has led all 11 laps thus far and looks comfortable out in front.
He does. It'll be very interesting to see what happens on the green flag stops, and Josef Newgarden not looking too comfortable. That was a big old slide exiting turn 1 at about 120 miles an hour. We expect Newgarden and the leaders to pit in the next 2 laps or so. Veach. Right on board with Veach now. He's got Jordan King all over him.
Yeah, he's under attack. He dives down the inside. He just got passed by Hinchcliffe just earlier in this lap, so he's definitely struggling for rear grip, Kelly.
Yeah, he has been struggling. He said the car's just been laying over on itself, and Zach Veach just a moment ago said it almost feels like something's bent, but I haven't hit anything. So we'll see what adjustments they can make when they come to pit road.
And unfortunately,
put the other set of tires on it.
Unfortunately for Veach, he's burned now 130 seconds of his 200 seconds available, so he's going to be well out of push to pass. We're only 12 laps into this thing.
Yeah, he's been loose all weekend. He's been like sliding the rear end all over the place, and I think it's just a matter of fact. You heard on the radio, we're going to put new tires on it soon, so I think he's just burned the tires off, and now it's just can't get off the corners, and he can't use the push to pass, so he's kind of a sitting duck.
Zach has really fond memories of racing here at Road America in Indy Lights. The last time he raced here, won the race and set a track record. Not quite going as well to plan here in the Verizon IndyCar Series for him at the moment. So getting towards the end of this opening stint, there's been plenty of quick hands, PT, out there. Lots of reaction.
Yeah, I mean, the cars are just tougher to drive this year. With all the downforce they had in the past, you kind of just point and shot the whole track. Now, these guys are really having to work hard through the corners, and the car's sliding. It's fun to watch, that's for sure.
Ryan Hunter-Ray maintains second. Alexander Rossi, really nice opening stint from Takuma Sato. Then there's a fair bit of daylight back to Robert Wickens in 5th and Scott Dixon. Then back to Graham Rahal, and a really promising start in the direct supply Chevrolet for Ed Carpenter Racing of young American Spencer Piggott.
Guy who made a lot of moves right here behind Piggott was Andretti. He's come through the field on the first couple laps, made big moves, so he's just... And Spencer is the spotlighted driver in our Chevrolet driver profile, and he is a huge soccer fan. That's appropriate at the moment with the World Cup going on. You've been catching any of it?
I have. Some great upsets going on, and should be fun as that comes down the stretch. Unfortunately, no American team, of course, in it, but Piggott, this is a great run for Spencer Piggott. And I think with Graham Rahal kind of sliding around in front of him, you've seen Graham Rahal drop some wheels here. Piggott might get Graham before the pit stop.
By the way, Spencer's dad, Barry, is English, so he didn't have a choice but to be a soccer fan. Paul mentioned it before, very encouraging
Graham will be coming with you.
opening stint from Marco Andretti and a decent 1-2 from Graham Rahal. And you just heard there, they're setting up. The Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan team setting up, ready for Graham. Does he come or does he stay? He's coming. Pit lane it is. First stop of the race for Graham Rahal. And Spencer Piggott coming with him as well. And Takuma Sato. Kev?
And it's been a good start for Takuma Sato. We mentioned that he felt a little more optimistic than some other races, and they're starting to find their stride in his first season back with Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. He's picked up 3 spots, coming off the scuffed red alternate Firestones onto the primary black Firestones for this stint. Kelly?
Graham Rahal's just got new black tires on his car, also added a turn of front wing, said he just lost all grip in the front of the car, was, quote, numb, Marty.
Simon Pagenaud was on those primary tires. A lot of the other drivers were on the red alternate tires, so he was doing all he could to hang on. They said, we're going to give you a turn of front wing. He said, I need more turn of front wing than just one. They gave him 2.5 turns of front wing, and those red tires, we'll see what kind of ground he can gain right here.
It was a positive start to the day for Simon Pagenaud, though, scoring 19 points in the Butterball What You Cookin' and eclipsing Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Well done.
So the day started on the right note.
Little French bistro music goes a long way in the kitchen. Tony Kanaan, no problem getting by Spencer Piggott as Piggott came out of the pits. So Kanaan making a move going down to turn 3.
Still on the Menard's car here. Saw John Menard in the pit lane before the start of the race. Good to have him at the race. He's a big supporter of IndyCar and Team Penske, so it's nice to have him. It's his home race for him to have him out here.
Race leader Josef Newgarden chooses this lap to pit. Last year, Newgarden and Scott Dixon were involved in an enthralling battle, and Newgarden very early set the tone by staying out 1 lap longer than his teammate then, Helio Castro Neves, and had put himself in contention for the win, but it was Dixon with a powerful move who ended up getting the victory here last year.
And Scott Dixon is also going to stay out 1 more lap this time. Most of the other leaders coming in. Ryan Hunter-Reay from second. He has to go around the tires of his teammate Marco Andretti. Alexander Rossi had a clean in. It is to the primaries this time for Hunter-Reay, and 1 turn out of one way. Marty?
It's going to be an interesting study here, Kevin, to see if that 1 extra lap pays off. Josef Newgarden leaving pit road. As you can see, Robert Wickens also on pit road. Newgarden wanted no changes to that 1 car. They put on primary sticker tires for Robert Wickens. They did take a big change in front wing. He said, I'm too free on entry and too tight on exit. So they made changes to that 6 car as well. And we'll see where all these guys cycle out once Dixon comes to pit road.
Oh, look at this. Marco Andretti rejoining right in front of Graham Rahal in turn 1. The over and under. Rahal's able to get by Andretti. Sweeping down to turn 2.
He's made up a lot of ground by staying out an extra lap because he's jumped ahead of Piggott and almost got Graham Rahal, but Graham Rahal's on hot tires now. Easy work for him, but the guy he's got to watch out behind to turn 5, 6, 7 is Piggott right here.
The guy we've got to look out for is Scott Dixon, who stayed out 1 extra lap.
And I think Graham Rahal is probably doing his best to get some distance on Marco Andretti, who I'm sure hasn't forgotten some of the moves Graham was making on the opening lap. And Dixon, once again, as you said, Lee, with incredible mileage going a full lap longer. Nobody saves fuel better than this guy.
It was one of the lines in Robin Miller's essay. Exactly what you just said. Nobody saves fuel like him. And he told me many years ago he learned that when testing for Toyota. When Toyota came into kart, he spent so much time testing, that's where he was able to really refine it.
And look at how hard Dixon was pushing through those final few corners. He knows that this in-lap means everything in terms of his ability to leapfrog and make positions on guys like Newgarden, Hunter-Reay, and Rossi.
It's exactly how he won the race last year, Kev.
He didn't get the starting position, 8th that he wanted, but he felt pretty good about the race car, and he goes a lap longer than everyone else. How much will this play into Scott Dixon's plan? This time, it's the primary stint. Might be the only one. You see the wing adjustment. They go from the reds to the blacks, and Dixon is back out with Sunoco fuel as well.
Leaders go by on the main straight, but we'll see where he cycles out. He's going to come out just in front of Wickens here. It's going to be a drag race. Wickens gets by, but he's jumped ahead of Kanaan.
Hard work for Dixon in these first 2 corners. He's on the harder black compound tire. Needs to get some temperature in those. Won't take him very long. You can see him struggling there.
But you did see him tippy-toe through turn 1.
You have to.
Yeah. Tighter at the front, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Captain America, starting to apply the pressure to Josef Newgarden. Team Penske, Andretti Autosport, Chevrolet, Honda. And the top 3 positions filled by American IndyCar stars here at Road America.
Great fans up here in Wisconsin. They really love their IndyCar racing.
As we welcome you back to Elkhart Lake, Lee Diffie, Paul Tracy, Townsend Bell with you, and things are getting tighter at the front. The 2 Andretti teammates, Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alexander Rossi, right in the middle there, sandwiched in between Josef Newgarden and Takuma Sato, have kind of brought things a little bit closer. Robert Wickens is running in the top 5, and then Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, Ray Hall, Piggott, and Marco Andretti is the top 10 running order at the moment.
Tight quarters up here. First 4 cars separated by just over a second. It seems like Hunter-Reay on when the pressures are down, he could put some pressure on Newgarden, but then as the run goes on, Newgarden can kind of stretch away just a little bit to give himself some breathing room.
And PT, it's a game of saving fuel, right? Tim Cindric's almost like a head coach in an NFL game. He's calling plays to Josef Newgarden. He is telling him when the car's behind him, Ryan Hunter-Reay and those guys are on the push to pass button. He'll say, they're on it, they're off of it. So at that same time, Josef Newgarden, Townsend, he hits the push to pass button, sort of match what they're doing. You don't want to use fuel if you don't have to, but you also have to match their pace.
Well, according to our data, Marty, right now, Josef Newgarden hasn't had to touch the button once, and that should tell you just how dominant a performance it's been so far. Oh, I see, push to pass on Newgarden. Just getting a note is not working on our data, so we don't know how many seconds he has left, but my hunch is that he hasn't had to use very much because he is comfortably in the lead, and as you said, Marty, just managing the fuel that he needs to burn to stay out front, trusting the information from Tim Cindric on the stand in terms of when he just needs to open up the gap a little bit. Very smart driving from Newgarden.
You get 200 seconds allocated to you of push to pass time, and you can use that in allocations of up to 20 seconds.
There we go. Our data analytics experts, 158 seconds remaining for Newgarden. Hunter-Reay 177, Rossi 131, Sato 168. So the front runners all with similar push to pass remaining as Ed Jones quietly works his way through turn 5. Always a sleeper, it seems. Ed Jones always seems to work his way into the top 5, Paul, at the end of some of these races, currently in 11th.
Veach has some handling issues. He dropped to the rear of the field. Currently the last guy on the running order.
You
right
see them
up front,
inspecting, Paul, the steering arms, trying to figure out if something in fact is bent, or maybe, I wonder if even they loosened up on him.
Yeah, and Zach Veach saying it almost feels like a broken toe link or something, but he said, I haven't hit anything, so they can't quite figure it out, but he was saying it's getting worse, about 2 to 3 degrees worse every lap, and finally they just called him in and said, hey, I'm kind of worried about this thing, let's bring it in and take a closer look.
I figure the lock nut loosened up on the steering arm.
I don't know, but he left in a big smoky burnout sideways, but he's got play in the wheel, and looks like Will Power's going to retire. He came back on track 14 laps down, did a lap, went back in. Veach comes out into traffic. This could be trouble here. This could set up a pass.
Stays way out of the way of his Andretti Autosport teammates Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alexander Rossi. Sato goes by. Wickens is the next one.
I promise you, Josef Newgarden's coming down the front straightaway at 185 going, oh, don't do that, please.
One of those last shots, Paul, down into turn 2, there's something that just does not look right about Zach Veach's car.
Yeah, as we see Wickens just in front of him, who's kind of clawing his way back onto the back end of these top 4 guys, but obviously there's something wrong in the steering rack, steering arms that's just playing it. Steering wheel's loose, you know, moving back and forth on him.
Let's go on board with Zach Veach and just look at the steering alignment here. Going through the turn 8, down the hill, 90-degree left-hander. The steering looks straight. I'm just looking at the alignment across the top of the steering wheel. When he gets the wheel straight, it seems to be parallel, so maybe they fixed whatever issue they had. Maybe he just burned the rear tires up so bad that it felt bent, but he's certainly got a half season of experience. A little hard on the back straightaway to tell on steering alignment because you're never really straight here. You've got these 2 little kinks coming to Canada corner. But so far it looks all right. We'll get our best sense here on the front straightaway, that steering alignment I talked about. So he comes out of the final corner, and now we'll just look how level is the top of this steering wheel effectively with the suspension, and it looks to be pretty well spot on.
Getting out of the way of Dixon, smart move. Dixon now went a lap further than ever these front guys, so if he can claw his way back up onto the back of these guys, that's going to be a big benefit.
So we saw images just a few moments ago of the Indy 500 winner Will Power out of his Team Penske Chevrolet. Marty's with him.
It's a tough one to swallow for Will Power. 21 laps into the race, he's out of the car back here in the paddock. Any idea what happened? What a strange problem.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just they replaced the exhaust and just blew straight back out. So it's obviously something going on in there that's going wrong. Yeah, feel bad for all the guys. Just one of those things, you know, you get that every now and then at some point. Yeah, not good, but we'll move on to the next one.
Let's talk about how rough this racetrack has been this weekend, going over curbs and qualifying. Could that have maybe had something to do with it?
It's so hard to tell. I mean, you know, I don't think it's an exhaust problem. It's something within the engine. Who knows? Like they're going to look deeply into it, obviously, if something like that happens. But yeah, I couldn't even comment on what it may be. But yeah, just need to keep moving forward. Think about Iowa and try have a good car there and get back in the points.
Are you just reminded of how cruel the racing game is? I mean, you won the Indy 500, now you're going to be 5th in the championship, leaving Road America just a few weeks later.
Yeah, it is amazing how quickly it swings, but that means it can swing back the other way. We've still got plenty of races, so head down and keep working at it because we can definitely win the championship from here.
Puts a positive spin on it. He swept the month of May, but it's been a rough time for Will Power since then. Right now, his teammate Josef Newgarden is the man out front. Ryan Hunter-Reay trying to chase him down. 22 laps into the race here at Road America. Back for more in a moment.
Watching the Kohler Grand Prix here on your home of motorsport, NBCSN, and the Verizon IndyCar Series continues in just 2 weeks' time. Sunday, July 8th, it's the Iowa Corn 300. Looking forward to that. Not the biggest track, but boy, does it turn on some good racing. Wonderful facility. Always good to take IndyCars back to the heartland. And the man you see in the red and white DHL machine for Andretti Autosport, Ryan Hunter-Reay, has had some incredible races and some wonderful success there.
It's 2012. Hunter-Reay, bold move to take the win. This was 2014.
Some tracks just click for people, and Ryan says Iowa is that track for him. What's one of the big takeaways from that? Just how dramatically different the cars look now.
Yeah, I mean, so much more body work, so much more hanging off the back. I think it's pretty refreshing, Paul, that we get back to the IndyCar look of old. Nice, clean bodywork, free off the rear tires, and it certainly helps them get down the straightaways faster here at Road America.
See all those guys coming off of 5 laying down tracks. So rear tires starting to go away as Rossi has lost just a little bit to the back of his teammate, and Sato's dropped off the back a little bit further. But the guy right now who's been able to stay closest, as we look at Sato, who's lost touch a little bit with Rossi, Hunter Ray is able to stay close right here with Newgarden, and we'll see if he can save some fuel and go that extra lap to try to leapfrog on the next stop.
And speaking of saving fuel, the guy I'm watching is Scott Dixon, of course. Started about on the last sequence of pit stops, he came out about 9 seconds back of the leaders. Now he has that down to 6.8. And if Dixon can tag on to the back of the top 5 with Wickens, he'll start saving even more fuel.
Yeah, he's closing.
And that'll
now.
shorten up his final pit stop.
Closing quick now, so he's in sight of them. He was out of sight from them. Now he can see them, and he can pull that gap in the next few laps.
In the lead up to this race, I spoke to a couple of engineers who don't want to be named because they're not from Chip Ganassi Racing. They said what Scott Dixon did here last year was just pure classic Dixon.
Yeah.
What he did against the Penske cars was incredible, but that's what Scott Dixon does.
Yeah.
Robert Wickens, meanwhile, up the road from Scott Dixon in the Schmidt-Peterson machine, dropping a wheel and bringing the dust to the air of Scott Dixon to drive through. He's definitely caught Takuma Sato.
Yeah, Sato's dropped off the back of Rossi. Rossi's off the back of Hunter Ray just a little bit, but Wickens moving forward, and the guy who now is right there in the picture, Scott Dixon, who's now closing quickly on the back of Wickens.
Turns out Zach Veach is going to get a drive-through penalty for an improper pit exit when he came out in front of the leaders there. So the day going from challenging to worse for Zach Veach.
And hearing that he has just served that penalty, adding insult to injury. Meanwhile, here is Sebastian Bourdais back on pit road. Tell us more, Marty.
And if you see him coming to a stop, remember they had that gear control unit issue earlier, so they're kind of forced into this 4-stop strategy for him. He said, you know what, primary tires were not good for our car. I want the alternate tires for the rest of this race. So they did that here with scuffed alternate tires, half turned down in front wing as well for the 18.
Wickens is all over the back of Takuma Sato heading down towards Canada Corner. Riding with Scott Dixon, that fight is up ahead.
Be interesting to see that 1-lap advantage, if that turns into a 2-lap advantage on the second stop for Dixon, which would be huge if he can rip off some quick laps and have a good in-lap.
A little further down the order, this is James Hinchcliffe, Robert Wickens' teammate, working on Zach Clayman DeMello.
2 Canadians here, one from Montreal, one from Toronto. 3 Canadians in the field. Wickens up front from these guys.
And look, guys, you want to go back a couple of weeks when we were at Texas Motor Speedway, and I don't want to say we gave Zach Clayman DeMello a hard time with that incident with Will Power, and kind of maybe it looked like it might have been a bit ambitious, but in the end, and I have to say when we spoke to Zach post his race, when his race was over, he was very forthright and just saying it from his perspective. And when we got the opportunity to hear from Will Power, he said, absolutely my fault. I didn't hear my spotter. We had some communication issues, and I went up the track. I had no idea he was there, and I put him in the wall. So, credit to Zach, because he was having a very good run there, like Hinchcliffe is here.
Yeah, he got a nice run off the corner. A little bit loose. Zach will protect the inside. He's going to make Hinch go around the long way. Hinch late on the brakes. Zach still there. Whoa. Chopped the nose right off of him, Townsend, and turned in. Good pass.
Yeah, all you have to do is leave just enough room, not an inch more. Hinchcliffe with a nice move. And now Hinchcliffe has some clear track in front of him. Jordan King, the next car up ahead, about 5 seconds ahead of Hinchcliffe. There's King, there's Hinch. And look at the gap that he's been able to put, Hinchcliffe's been able to put on DeMello in just about 3 corners.
You know, we haven't seen a whole lot up front, but that pass that Hinch just put on DeMello there was the 100th pass in this race. That opening stanza was pretty busy. But it's all going to plan perfectly so far for Josef Newgarden. Team Penske out in front. Some second round of pit stops have already taken place, but not with these top two, as we welcome you back to Elkhart Lake, Road America. Josef Newgarden up against Ryan Hunter-Reay.
I'm telling you, Hunter-Reay, I think, is really doing a good job of saving fuel, Townsend. And if he can go an extra lap, he's really going to be in the catbird seat. So we'll see this lap right here if Newgarden pulls off. Nope, they're going to go one more lap.
It just seems like ever since the leaders have gone to the harder black compound that Hunter-Reay has just been stronger across the board. I mean, his teammate Rossi's fallen back, Wicken's fallen back, but got to still mention Scott Dixon as we see Pagenaud making a bold move up the inside of Piggott in turn 12.
Runs him a little wide off the edge of the corner. That's a good pass, nice and clean. Piggott was blocking the inside, trying to protect, but we see the couple of the leaders up front, Kevin.
So Alexander Rossi comes in a lap earlier than Ryan Hunter-Reay. You're right on it, PT, that Hunter-Reay is getting the mileage that might impact this one. Front wing adjustment. This is scuffed reds, Marty, for Rossi.
A lot of the other teams going to scuffed reds or the alternate tire. Robert Wicken's going with the primary tire, sticker primary tires for him. He said the rears went off too quickly with the alternate tire. I want to stick with the primaries. They do that. We'll see where they cycle out. And these other leaders, including Josef Newgarden, staying out one extra lap.
This should be fun to watch. Takuma Sato at speed. This is a battle for position.
Gotcha. In there deep on hot tires. Hard to hold a guy off that's already got a lap, but Sato might get Rossi here. He's in the tow. He'll break as late as possible. If he doesn't get him by 5, he's really going to have a difficult time.
Sato on the outside, which is the wrong side at 5, but he's going to have a go at it anyway. Around the outside of Alexander Rossi. Does it come off? Yes, it does.
Rossi fights back up the hill. He's going to stuff it in here.
Side by side, Sato
contact.
and Rossi.
Remember what Rossi did to Wickens? Wickens pushed off.
What a pass. But that might come under the scrutiny. He's already been looked at for the same move.
Yeah, but they looked at that move and deemed it to be racing appropriate earlier, so I don't see anything different about what Rossi just did there.
I think that was great racing. It was wheel to wheel, tire to tire banging. I'm cool with that. Here's the leaders, same on the same lap.
Kev standing by, take it away.
Well, Townsend, you were right on it about Ryan Hunter-Reay. That was one of the things he told me before. I think we're better than others on the older blacks, and he made that work for them. He's going to come in, and he's going to take another set of the primaries. Meanwhile, Scott Dixon goes by him. You just see him through the screen there. He's going on scuff raids. Marty?
Josef Newgarden at the front of the field was really pushed by Ryan Hunter-Reay on that lap coming to pit road. They're going the opposite direction. They're going to go with the alternate scuffed tires. We're going to look for Rossi and those other guys coming through, see where everybody cycles out. But Newgarden able to push it one lap further here on this stint.
Zach Veach coming up at speed, but look at Dixon. We totally forgot about Dixon. Leapfrogged all those guys into third and has a nice gap to Rossi.
But Rossi is flying on warm tires, just like we saw earlier a lap ago. Rossi should be able to close the gap very quickly to Dixon, and Dixon's going to be working hard to get temperature as fast as he can. It's going to take Rossi probably 2 more corners to catch him, but then Dixon will have tire temperature.
Oh, here we go, guys. Just in, race control is reviewing the Alexander Rossi Takuma Sato situation. From a lap ago, let's have another look from a different camera angle. Exiting turn 5, Sato on your left.
This is
Sato runs wide. There's no way to get good power down there. That allows Rossi to come back. They're side by side. Rossi has the position legitimately, just like with Wickens at the start of the race. It's identical, so I don't think you can review it any different, despite Sato throwing his right hand up in the air and in dispute and objection.
Well, Sato definitely didn't give up on the outside and put himself in position to be pushed off the track on the exit by not giving up, but that's just good hard racing in my opinion.
Graham Rahal now starting to zero in on the back of Robert Wickens and catch his Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan teammate Sato. But what a move from Ganassi and Scott Dixon to put him in that position. He was 5.5 seconds behind Josef Newgarden, the leader, coming in on that pit cycle, and then puts himself right in the game.
9 seconds back on the first round of pit stops, 5 seconds before they pitted, as you said, Lee, and now he should be able to make quick work of Zach Veach as we hear that there's no action taken. That's the right call between Rossi and Sato.
Stop patting yourself on the back.
Well, I'm all for good hard racing. I like this. Elbows out. This is lap 1. Let's watch it again. This was Rossi on Wicked. The exact same accident, or incident, I should say. Exact same contact on lap 1. And then it happened again later in the race. The officials reviewed, and they just call that good old-fashioned Road America, elbows out racing.
The whole pack now is closed up. We got Ray Hall in 7th now on the back of Wickens. He's come out of nowhere. Pagano is now in 8th, a little bit from the back, but we got Veach in the mix of all the leading cars here, which is causing a little bit of drama for these front runners.
Graham popped out of the draft there and showed the inside line to Robert Wickens. Was not close enough heading down into turn 5. Zach Veach, who was all the way back in 22nd and not on the lead lap, doing his best not to get involved in this scrap at the front.
A good idea for Veach to kind of just get out of the way, being a lap down. He's going to hurt Wickens here on the exit, because Wickens is right up the back of him, and it might allow Ray Hall to get a run here.
There you see Veach breathe it wisely to allow Wickens to get going. Here comes Ray Hall with a big run.
Now there's a big gap back to Pagano. So the best thing Veach can do here is just hang on to the lead pack here and just learn a little bit.
Now in that cycle of pit stops, Newgarden burned more push to pass. He has 136 seconds left. Hunter Ray didn't really have to touch the button, so Hunter Ray with the most push to pass remaining in the race. That could be a big, big deal as we get to the closing laps.
He's still right sitting on the back of the leader, Newgarden. I'm surprised that he was not able to make the fuel mileage to go an extra lap, but we really got to pay attention to Dixon. If he can pull up on these guys and make more fuel mileage again, we might be looking at a Scott Dixon win here going down the stretch.
I think one of the questions is how much risk does Dixon take in terms of staying out till the very end, or do you be the first one to make the last stop and protect yourself against the yellow?
That's the general rule of thumb, right? Be the first to stop last.
Well, but we've seen them push the limit to try to get the win before, Toronto in particular.
You're at so much more risk on a street course of a guy crashing, hitting the wall. Here it's such a huge advantage to go an extra lap, and if a guy goes off, he goes in the grass, comes back on, so the advantage is huge here to take that risk.
We did just get an update, although there's a slight telemetry glitch from our end where we sit. Josef Newgarden has 130 seconds of push to pass left.
Yep.
Beautiful Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. What a great place to be. This is such a great time of the year, not only for IndyCar racing, but the 105th edition of the Tour de France is on NBCSN. The riders begin their 3-week tour on the Atlantic coast with a sprint for the yellow jersey. The coverage of the tour begins Saturday, July 7th, right here on NBCSN. It's part of the NBC Sports Championship season, presented by Canada Dry Ginger Ale and Lemonade. Fantastic stuff. So much to look forward to at this time of the year. Welcome back, folks. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy, Kelly Stavis, Kevin Lee, Marty Snyder, and Robin Miller on a beautiful day in Wisconsin. And Josef Newgarden's hoping it just keeps going in this current form, because he has led 31 laps of this race so far in dominant fashion, but he's being dogged, he's being hounded by Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Riding on board here with Graham Rahal, and just moments ago he got around Robert Wickens. Heading into turn 5, sets him up nicely, great toe. That is textbook right there.
I like the color scheme on the Gale Honda this weekend. Looks great. Kind of reminiscent of his dad Bobby's car, or Miller car. This is Gabby Chavez and James Hinchcliffe. Woo. Down into Canada corner. This is what it looked like for Hinch. This way, no, that way. No, this way.
And you know, it's a great run for Gabby Chavez. Remember, he started last, worked his way up into 13th, so he's made the most moves so far, slightly off pit sequence, last pitted on lap 23. But Graham Rahal's got a good shot. There's a slow car there. That's Juncos. Kelly, what do you know about Graham?
Well, obviously the team pretty pleased with that move that he made to get around Robert Wickens. They had been telling him all along, every time that Wickens was on the push to pass, so that Graham could respond accordingly. He finally made the pass. Even though qualifying wasn't as strong as he wanted, he's had a lot of confidence coming here to Road America, 2 podiums in 3 races here. You just saw the new driver Celis in that 32 car getting a little wide there too, Lee.
And he made a nice little avenue to get by for Graham Rahal. So the young Mexican Alfonso Solis Jr. in his IndyCar debut for Juncos Racing.
Graham's got a nice run right here. He might have a little shot at him. He's got right there in the draft. So see if he tries to make a move.
Teammate on
Pops
teammate.
out. Graham definitely on the move. He's the 2 movers so far in this race. Dixon and Graham have come from further back in the field.
Graham lost about a second to the leaders there, so he'll be in a big hurry to try to get around Sato. Wouldn't surprise me if he gets on the radio and asks for a little help from his teammate.
This is the fight for 5th.
He's on push to pass right there. Not going to happen there, but he might be close enough to have a run out of turn 3.
Really difficult to pass in turn 1 here. It's so fast at the apex, really hard to outbrake, but much slower corner at turn 5 and bigger braking zone. We'll see if he can get a run off the corner here.
Since Texas 2 weeks ago and now, there has been a manufacturer test day here at Road America in which Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan participated, and both Taku and Graham said that it was a productive day. They learn a lot, cars perform well, and that statement post-test would reflect in their running right now.
Certainly very strong, and if Graham can get a whiff of this guy, Josef Newgarden, towards the end of the race, I think he might have something for him. But right now, I've got to say, Hunter Ray looks to be very strong.
Yeah, he's just kept sat on Newgarden and just can't just close that little bit of gap to get close enough to make a pass.
Inside the final 20 laps as we give you a Chevrolet driver update. Stating the obvious, no one better than Josef Newgarden representing Chevrolet at the moment. Simon Pagenaud, it's been a bit of a distant day for the Frenchman at the bottom end of the top 10. So far, so good for the Team Penske, number 1, the reigning champ. You've been seeing this in non-stop at home. Something may be wrong with Alexander Rossi as Graham Rahal continues his surge forward through the pack. We're on board now with Rossi, the Andretti driver.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a flat tire, a tire going down. So easy here, Townsend. You drop a wheel off on the exit on those curves. You drop a wheel off in that dirt. You hit a rock or something and it cuts the tire. Might have cut through and just slightly punctured the rear tire.
Is it possible that the puncture might have been from the contact?
Maybe.
With
Sato. It was very much wheel to wheel.
Yeah.
Unlike the Wickens one, which was more side pod to wheel.
Is it the left rear though? Because the contact was with Rossi's right side.
Last lap was a 1:49, so he's about 4 or 5 seconds off the pace.
And this is
what the
brutal.
leaders are doing.
Brutal for Rossi because he's not in the window to make the last stop right now.
Pagenaud now just back behind, so he's coming in. Kevin?
So the only hope now for Alexander Rossi is going to be a caution. That's the only way, and a decent enough length of caution of a couple 3 laps to be able to get him to go the rest of the way. They're going to take a good look at the tires. They do have their sticker reds, as all the other leaders do right now. So that's going to be the hope, is that they get a caution at some point, preferably really soon, before everyone pits to cycle back to the front.
Looking at steering again. Sort of like Zach Veach, they were looking at the steering knuckles on the right front. The left front has not been replaced.
And this could be day done for Alexander Rossi.
So 2 Andretti cars have now had steering issues up front in the steering rack and steering arm system. So now they're working on it. So pretty interesting. They've got something going on with their setup in the front rack and pinion setup.
What are they saying on the radio, Kev?
Obviously not the tire going down. I think they're looking at the shims over there on the left front. So
that's
obviously
definitely
this is
not
going to take
tight.
some time.
That's definitely not tight because they're tightening it. So it looks like the camber shims, where you put the camber shims in, that was loose because he was ratcheting that over and to get it tight. So it's like those came loose, Townsend.
You could see Rossi's steering wheel going down pit lane was slightly askew, like we talked about with Veach earlier. So appears to be some sort of systematic issue.
That's really odd that would come loose.
And what's even more bizarre is Alexander's comments pre-race. He said, "We have had great speed here. I've just never been able to get a result."
But for Rossi, he did not fall off the lead lap. That is huge.
Here they come. So he's just left. He's heading down towards turn 5. There's Josef Newgarden being pursued, continually pursued from Ryan Hunter-Reay. And then Scott Dixon at cresting the top of the hill. 3.5 seconds, blanketing the top 3. 3 different teams. Who's going to get this one today at Road America? Back at Road America and riding with Scott Dixon. First, I want to remind you that this July, skateboarding's elite bring their best tricks to the California coast. It's the Do Tour, Long Beach, Saturday, July 7th on NBC. How about your 2 California kids, your 2 sons? They aspiring to be skateboarding legends?
They like board sports. They get out there and no goofy style, regular foot in our family.
So a whole lot of pit stops happening. Kevin Lee standing by. Kevo?
The window is now open to make it the rest of the way without needing to super save. Takuma Sato has moved up the 4th with the problem for Alexander Rossi. He's got the sticker alternates, the red sidewalled Firestones for the last stint. Marty?
Robert Wickens about to hit his stall. He was frustrated during that run. He said these other guys just have so much more straightaway speed than we have. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment for him and put on sticker alternate tires. Took a little bit longer. Oh, Pagano tried to get to his stall. He put up his hands in frustration. He was trying to get to his stall as Wickens was leaving his stall. For Pagano, it's been a terrific run today. Started 14th. He was running 7th Sunoco fuel to make it to the end. No changes on that car and those sticker alternate tires of no. These leaders staying out one more lap. That means they can run a little harder on this final stint.
That might get called as an unsafe release. Schmidt team that we've just heard, they're going to look at that release, so they waved him out right into oncoming traffic. The key now, as we see the outlaps of Piggott and Pagano, is what's going to happen at the front. Has Dixon done the fuel mileage game that he always does? Can he go an extra lap? We're going to find out in a lap or 2.
And that was, we should say, some good heads-up driving from Simon Pagano.
Absolutely.
To avoid a collision. Here's Scott Dixon, been running 3, position 3 for a long time, and just slowly, very carefully, strategically worked his way up into that top 3.
And he's pushing mileage. I don't think Hunter-Reay came in. I think Hunter-Reay stayed on track.
He did, and so too did Newgarden.
Scott Dixon was pushing harder than I've ever seen him on that in lap, doing everything in his power to make up the gap.
And when you've been going 180, close to 190, the 60-mile-an-hour pit lane speed limit feels like you're crawling. Kev?
Scott Dixon coming in. Now keep in mind also the advantage of going the extra lap. I know, for example, Ryan Hunter-Reay is about to come in. They're talking a shorter fill of fuel. This was a shorter fill for Dixon too, so let's see if that gets him any time on track back out.
Leaving on sticker red. He's got to have a good clean out lap. He'll sweep out here, get out to the braking point, turn in. Nice exit there. So we're going to see if Hunter-Reay can go another lap, but he hasn't been able to do it yet. Newgarden has done a masterful job at just pacing the front of the field.
We pick up the number 1, Verizon Chevy. And Ryan Hunter-Reay's lost a little bit of ground to Josef over the last 5 or so laps.
Yeah, it looks like Ryan's tires are fried at this point. Look at the marble buildup too, offline in the kink. Remember, by shortening or lengthening this stint, that means that you just need to take that little bit less fuel on the final stop, and that could be a real big advantage in addition to just the clean air, Paul, of staying out a lap longer.
Yeah, absolutely. These 2 guys have really been the class of the field in terms of fuel mileage so far this race. Dixon went a lap further than everybody, but it didn't translate into, here they come.
So they both come in, and Scott Dixon, I can tell you, is about to go through the carousel. So let's wait for it, let's watch, and let's see how close this will be between Josef Newgarden, Ryan Hunter-Reay, and Scott Dixon on this final stop of the race.
So Ryan Hunter-Reay does have the clear in with Marco's box empty. Does have to go around Charlie Kibble's team you're going to see here in a moment. 15 gallons of fuel instead of the full 18.5 is all they need for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Sticker reds for the last stint, Marty.
Pit stops and out laps that could decide the race here at Road America. Josef Newgarden wanted no changes to that car. The sticker alternate tires for him. And again, that short fill, so critical. His lead over the 28 was 1.8 seconds when they came to pit road. We'll see where he cycles out with the 28 of Ryan Hunter-Reay. And also Scott Dixon, who's coming on those fresher tires.
Here he comes. He's going to get Hunter-Reay by turn 5. Hot tires, reds pushing hard. He's got to close the gap here in turn 2 to get a run down to turn 5. Will he get him, Townsend?
I don't know if he'll be close enough, but it's going to be close. Hunter-Reay has to get to turn 5 first. It looks like he will. Hunter-Reay and Dixon both on push to pass.
Look at this, the run downhill to turn 5. Scott Dixon agonizingly isn't close enough to Captain America to make a move just yet.
Dixon will draw closer in these next couple of corners, but the challenge is there's really nowhere to make a move until they get to Canada Corner. By that point, Newgarden and Hunter-Reay will be fully up to temperature.
A little bit loose, Hunter-Reay through the kink. Dixon draws close. Right here, he's closed up on the tail. If he can stay close here in the carousel, he might have a run to Canada Corner using push to pass. Look at how loose.
A little wide, man. That thing is dancing, that DHL car.
He's there. He's close enough to get a draft.
Yeah, but Hunter-Reay's on the button with Dixon, and Hunter-Reay has 60 seconds more of push to pass. He was so efficient throughout the race, and it's paying off now.
Down to Canada Corner. Does Scott Dixon feel he has a chance?
I think he might on the front straight, Paul.
Might have another opportunity, but you've really got to be complete.
Oh, not there.
Yeah, you've got loose on entry, washed out.
Dixon knew he had to do everything he could to stay close and hit that bump in the braking zone for the last corner, and now the gap has opened up to about a second. Meanwhile, Newgarden's loving this.
And Newgarden's got almost a full minute, full 60 seconds more of push to pass than the third place Scott Dixon.
And that was huge for Newgarden. The reason he loves that battle is that it's forced Hunter-Reay to use up push to pass, so that now Newgarden 93 seconds, Hunter-Reay 84. So that advantage that Hunter-Reay had is effectively gone. They're even.
And an updated report on Robert Wickens and the Schmidt-Peterson car. We flagged it maybe an unsafe release. Race control looked at it and everything okay. No action taken against Robert Wickens, the Canadian and lead rookie who runs 5th in this Kohler Grand Prix. Back for the closing 10 laps after this. Welcome back to the Kohler Grand Prix here at Road America. Pleased to say that George Brugenthes, the promoter here, man who does such a great job getting it together, proudly announced today, a contract extension of 3 more years. That's good news, Marty.
Very good news, and this crowd incredible today. And I mean, speaking of incredible, the performance by Josef Newgarden. He's led all but 2 laps today. Tim Cindric is the man who makes the calls for him. How do you manage these final few laps, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a game of cat and mouse all day as far as figuring out, what the out laps are and how much fuel to use and all the rest of it. But he's done a real good job maintaining it. Ryan's put a lot of pressure on him all day, but pit crew's done a great job. You got to have flawless pit stops on days like this. And it's not over yet, but he's in the right spot.
How key was it to go the extra lap there before that final stop to be able to kind of unleash him here on this final stint?
Yeah, all day it's been that way, and then you got to decide whether you really filled the tank on the last stop or not. You're just trying to manage all that, and I think, like I said, the guy's done a really good job here, but you still got 8 to go.
All right, just to make sure you filled the tank, right?
No.
You did not get the tank all the way full.
You didn't need all the fuel from that point on, but it was close.
Very good. All right, so they think they're good on fuel to the very end, but we'll keep our eye on that, Kev.
And that was the same situation for Ryan Hunter-Reay, as reported. He didn't need all the fuel. Michael Andretti is one of those on the stand. All right, pit stops are done. Is there anything you guys can come up with to be able to catch Newgarden?
Honestly, I think we have a really fast car. It's just track position's been the problem, and we were hoping we'd be able to get him on our pit stops and stuff, but unfortunately we didn't. They did a great job too. So, I know Ryan's pushing as hard as he can right now with the DHL car, and we'll see if he has something there in the end for him.
Even if not a win, it's been fun to see Ryan fighting for wins and championships again on level playing field this year.
Yeah, no question about it. Especially the last few weeks, things have actually been going right for him finally, because he's had such bad luck. So hopefully he keeps it going.
Fourth in the championship coming in today, and right now running second. Ryan Hunter-Reay with Michael Andretti.
And like points as they run right now would put Ryan Hunter-Reay in second. So he's been on a real nice roll since that win in Detroit.
Which he needed, because there was a substantial period of frustration. Not always his own fault either, like mechanicals and rare things. You know who else is having a nice run? Is young American Spencer Pigot. He's actually headed for his best result of the season if he can stay where he is right now in 7th in the Direct Supply, which is a local company. I think they're based in Milwaukee, aboard the Ed Carpenter Chevrolet there. Spencer is doing very well. He had a top 10, I think, back in Detroit, so this 7th will be best of 2018. That will bring some relief. With more on him, here's Kelly.
Yeah, Lee, this team has had to make so many changes throughout the weekend, just trying to get a setup that the balance would be right for Spencer Pigot. They obviously finally hit on something, had a decent qualifying, and he's been running really well inside the top 10 most of this race. He said a big difference this year is getting to run full time. He's really gotten to get to know the engineers. That communication line is better this year. He was expecting a decent result today, and it looks like they'll get it.
I'll tell you one thing, I was expecting a better day out of Pagenaud. It looked like he was moving forward as we look at Ed, sandwiched in between Pigot and Pagenaud, but it's really not been a great day for Simon. It's just, he hasn't had any pace all day.
Well, even yesterday he said the car's just not working. I just can't get the car that I want to work the way I want it to work.
Too much drag in those meatballs, Townsend.
Too much butterball turkey, right, Townsend? Is that what's wrong with Pagenaud? No, they've actually had very good pace, especially at the end of runs. And he told me he's been frustrated this year. He said the car has really thrown him for a loop. He said my teammates have really figured out how to get pace out of this lower downforce car. I just haven't been able to do it. This is the first weekend that I felt like I've been able to, quote, unleash myself. So they've had good pace, started 14th, but remember, they came to pit road running 7th a moment ago, and Wickens was released. They had to wait that little beat. He lost 2 spots on pit road because of that little transition where Robert Wickens was leaving his stall, Pagenaud trying to get to his stall, and he had to check up on pit road.
So the running order is Newgarden, Hunter-Reay, Dixon. No surprise there. Sato, Wickens was able to hold off Graham Rahal for the time being. Then Pigot, Ed Jones on screen right there. Then Simon Pagenaud, and James Hinchcliffe has come from 16th to 10th. So Hinch will be relieved to be inside the top 10. Then Marco Andretti has been shuffled back somewhat. And then Jordan King is running in 12. If you weren't with us a little earlier, Will Power, right from the opening lap, was plagued with problems, and he is the only retirement. Zach Veach has had some dramas with his car. Sebastian Bourdais also had some problems, and he's been pushed back to 13th, but it's somewhat of a good comeback. So, good day for some, not so much for others. With 6 laps remaining here at Road America. Ed Jones with a couple of podiums this year. His driver coach is the man in the middle who got his first IndyCar victory 20 years ago. And he still has the track record here. Kev?
Yeah, Dario Franchitti is getting a chance to look at this as well. 20 years ago, yet you're still so young.
Yeah, I think that's an optical illusion, to be honest. That was seemed a long time ago now, but really a great memory to for the first win here. It was to do it at this track, such a great place. It was fun times.
Talk about Ed. You've been working with Franchitti. He's getting a chance to look at this as well. 20 years ago, yet you're still so young.
Yeah, I think that's an optical illusion, to be honest. That was seemed a long time ago now, but really a great memory to for the first win here. It was to do it at this track, such a great place. It was fun times.
Talk about Ed. You've been working with him throughout the season, his first with Ganassi. He's having a pretty good day today.
Yeah, he's doing very well. Not the best start he's ever had, but he's worked his way back up past a lot of cars. The guy's done a good job in the pits. We're trying to stay ahead of Pagenaud here, which is not the easiest thing.
Are you still satisfied being involved in competition from this standpoint? Are you still getting something out of racing from this side?
Oh, I love it, absolutely. And it's not the same as driving the car, but to to still be involved in trying to make cars go win races, to go faster, it's fantastic.
Hey guys, he's like the rest of us, just likes a good excuse to come to the racetrack. Beats having a real job, doesn't it?
Well, he loves to come to Elkhart Lake, and it is a guarantee that he'll be with his buddies sitting in Seepkins tonight having a pint of beer, because he's always there on a Saturday and Sunday night.
Well, he's a student of the sport. He loves the history of the sport, and Seepkins is such an historic place here in Elkhart Lake. Probably a good bet that David Hobbs will be there as well. This is Hobbo's hometown of Elkhart Lake. Just mentioned, it made me think of Hobbo before when you mentioned all that rubber build-up on the edge of the track. We should say clag.
The clag.
In honor of Hobbo.
I'll tell you, this battle between Jones and Pagenaud is a battle of slim pickings in that they don't have very much push to pass left. Jones has 10 seconds, Pagenaud 8 seconds. So they have to be extremely efficient with the usage of that push to pass button. Maybe just a quick on-off over the last 5 laps. We ride on board with Zach Veach. He's actually put in the Tag Heuer fastest lap of the race. Had issues with the mechanical systems at the front of the car. We think that the steering arms coming loose.
Nice clean pass here on push to pass. Whoa, got a little bit dicey there.
Clayman DeMello not making it easy at all for the young American.
By the way, that's at over 180 miles an hour.
Yeah, putting in
Oh,
fast
someone's
laps.
off back there at the exit turn 1. I think that was DeMello. Wow.
Yeah, so Zach Veach putting in the fastest lap of the race, but the guy who's putting in some fast laps right now is Newgarden. Clayman DeMello just went off, but Newgarden has his biggest lead now that he's had. Now that he's good to go, doesn't have to think about fuel mileage. He's got his biggest lead at 1.7 seconds now. So he's kind of stretched it out on Hunter Ray and pulled a small gap to him, that biggest gap he's had all race. But we see Zach Veach here claiming, oh, big loose by Clayman DeMello right at the apex through the gravel. That's a nice save.
Heck of a save, and that'll put your throat in your stomach.
Wow. You know, sometimes things are just meant to happen. Josef Newgarden has a children's book written about him. It's called Joseph the IndyCar Driver, and it was based here in Road America. So if he can go on and get his first victory here at this track, that will be fantastic. I think maybe, hey Marty, Tim Cindric might claim that he's the good luck charm, considering earlier this week in Mooresville, North Carolina, Tim got a hole-in-one.
I don't think anything's gone wrong for this race team this weekend. Cindric with a hole-in-one from about 127 yards with a sand wedge, so congratulations to him. They got the pole for the Road America race, and looks like they might be on the way to the win. You know, Josef started the season so strong, 2 wins in the first 4 races, but as he described to me, then the, quote, wheels fell off the bus. No better than 8th since that time. And he said, listen, we've had the speed, we haven't had the race execution. Today, they have been flawless on the track, managing the gap to second place. He has led all but 2 laps, and on pit road, they have not missed a step all day long. So Josef Newgarden might be on the way to getting his first ever Road America win. And what timing! He came in 68 points behind Lee in the championship standings. He would gain 18 points today if he does pull off this win.
Yeah, maybe jump up 1 position into the top 4, and he'd be 50 back from Scott Dixon. I want to go back to IndyCar Live, and I said to you, mate, right at the beginning, hey, does this have a similar feel to Barber Motorsports Park, where Josef got the pole and went on to win in dominating fashion? And you said absolutely.
I don't know what it is. Kind of bizarre, the slump that Newgarden went through at Indy and Texas and Detroit, and all of a sudden it's as if that never happened. I mean, this is just such a dominant performance. And Paul, your pick for the race was Rossi, and he's shown, you know, quite a bit of speed and a lot of aggression, but unfortunately had the issue.
Yeah, I mean, the issue, very odd. Had the camber shim block come loose. As we saw, he had to come to the pit lane and fix that, but he was definitely racing, definitely driving the way he has all season long, bumping and shoving and pushing and grinding. So a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact with some guys, but that coming in and fixing that camber shim really cost him.
So first it was Wickens, this was Sato. Same corner, very similar incidents. Race control said no worries, just good hard racing. And then the mechanical issue, as Paul detailed, is what put paid to Alexander Rossi's chances today. And Rossi is well down the order now in 16th place.
Yeah, he's going to have to pit again because he pitted so far out of sequence. He's probably going to have to do another stop as well, which is going to hurt him even more.
Look at this. Pagano on Ed Jones. Jones giving the squeeze there, trying to keep the door tight. Pagano kicking it open, saying, I'm coming through.
And this is under review. And you just heard from Dario Franchitti saying about Ed Jones, we're trying to keep Pagano behind us, which isn't an easy task. Pagano's got his sights set on Spencer Pigot, trying to steal that 7th position away over these closing 2 laps. Hey guys, you surprised to see it stay green? Go green the whole race?
Well, not really. We've had it before. You know, we had a full green race at Sonoma to end the season. We've seen it in Mid-Ohio in the past, but I guess I'm a little surprised that at the start of the race, you know, there wasn't maybe one situation that would have led to yellow. Certainly with those 2 Rossi incidents, that could have been close. But, you know, this is a big, fast racetrack. These guys have been aggressive. I love the fact that this new car doesn't have bodywork, little pieces of aerodynamics flying everywhere that forces a debris yellow.
The last full green race at this racetrack was in 2000, I've been told by our stat man over here. You know who won that race?
I have a feeling.
I won. And I won it from last place. I had an ignition failure at the start, went all the way to the back and came all the way through and won the race with no yellows.
To add to your 1993 victory as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, you really didn't cause many yellows in your career, Paul.
It is very clear-cut up front, isn't it? What a day. What a day for the one team from Team Penske and Josef Newgarden. I like the way that he hasn't changed what he's been saying the last few races despite the setbacks. We've just got to regroup. We've got to get going. We know we've got the speed. We know we're a great team.
And I think Josef Newgarden understood the significance here of pole position. And remember, he had pole at Texas, which gave him such a great pit stall position at the front of the line, the end of pit lane, nobody in front of him as we get the white flag. And so for Newgarden, that lap that he put in qualifying, Paul, was superior. I mean, he's such a tough-as-nails guy, was so bold with his move in the last corner to secure pole.
He's been so dominant all weekend, right from the green flag dropping in the first practice. But, man, you got to be impressed with Scott Dixon. He has put in a drive today that is what you would call a championship drive, where you don't have the best car, you had a bit of a bad run in qualifying, and to bring your way through to the podium, as we look at him here going into turn 5 for the last time, this is what it takes. He knows exactly what it takes to win championships. He did this at the Indy Grand Prix all the way from the back, but this is an important day, I think, for Dixon for points.
Well, Josef Newgarden gets to join proud Penske drivers, Will Power, Paul Tracy, Emerson Fittipaldi, Danny Sullivan, to have won at Road America for the captain. And that, even though drivers say, yeah, I don't look at records, etc., they do. And it means a lot, because when they do get a time to reflect, they're the kind of things that resonate the most. He won in Phoenix, and he won in Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park. And speaking of Barber Motorsports Park, that was the site of Josef Newgarden's first IndyCar career win. This is going to be number 10. How about that? He's racked them up in very quick succession, but this track is a special place, and this drive was extra special. Josef Newgarden wins the Kohler Grand Prix to get back in this championship chase.
Look at the gap that he put on Newgarden, on Hunter Ray in the closing laps. You get the feeling, Paul, he always had it in his pocket all day, and he just unleashed the beast at the very end.
His last lap was 2 seconds a lap quicker than Hunter Ray. He knew he had the car. He knew he had just played the game like a chess match. And I don't, as a driver myself, I don't like somebody breathing down my neck that close. He could have pulled away, but at risk of using fuel, and he just played it perfectly today.
Hunter Ray and Newgarden congratulate each other, because that was a tough race. It was tough physically, tough strategically. And there's Dixon in the mix.
And I'd say 3 of the toughest guys in this series finish 1, 2, 3. Only a couple years ago that Newgarden had that broken collarbone.
Yeah. There we go. It's a very tight team, and this is what they strive for, victory. That's exactly what Josef Newgarden has today here in Wisconsin. You've been watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Tag Heuer, official timepiece of the IndyCar Series, and by Fleet Cost and Care. Unleash the full potential of your fleet with Fleet Cost and Care software. This could not be a more beautiful day in so many ways, weather-wise, but if you're Josef Newgarden, it is just perfect. Car number one, position number one, and gets himself back in a better position to defend his Verizon IndyCar Series championship title. First ever win at Road America, 10th career win. What a day, Marty. What a day.
An impressive day for Josef Newgarden and this entire Team Penske organization. Dominant fashion, leading all but 2 laps. He winds up in victory lane at Road America. What a day. We started the weekend talking about how special this place is. He told me it was top 2 on his list of places he wanted to come to break a slump. You're a winner at Road America. How bad did you want this one, Josef?
Really bad. I mean, I wanted to win here since last year. You know, I felt like we had a car to win, and it just didn't happen. But this car has been a rocket all weekend. It was not easy. I mean, Ryan was very quick, and I knew Dixon was right behind him, so we were working for it the entire race. But these guys were the best. I mean, they gave me incredible pit stops. I think we nailed the strategy. Tim was coaching me through the whole thing, so I kind of knew what I had to do, but it was a lot of work. I'm honest with you. Ryan was really pushing me, so you know, just hats off to the whole Team Penske team. I wish we could have the other guys up here with us, but you know, it's good to get a win. It doesn't matter which car it is, as long as we get one, it's good for Team Penske.
You told me we've had the speed, we haven't had the race execution. Can you imagine a more well-executed race for you or the team than this?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty flawless. It was difficult. I mean, I was really struggling at the beginning to, you know, do what I needed to do and then gap Ryan correctly. But I'll tell you what, Team Chevy did a great job this weekend. They gave me the horsepower I needed, had great fuel economy, so really proud of those guys. Good reliability, everything you expect from a Team Chevy engine. So I think that made the difference at the end of the day.
How much of your day was spent looking in the rearview mirror at that 28 car, trying to keep that gap exactly where it needed to be? Because you're right, Tim was on you a few times. You got to do a better job on fuel.
I know, I was working my butt off, believe me. I was looking at him every lap. And then I started thinking, I'm looking at him too much. Then I started looking forward. I knew if he was getting too close, they'd let me know. So once I focused forward, it was a lot better towards the end.
Cindric said on the radio, we're back on track. Do you feel like this team is back in the championship hunt now, only 50 points out of the lead?
Yeah, we're far, you know, it's far till we get to the end of the season. So for me, I'm not too worried about it. I think we need to focus on this one weekend at a time. That's what Roger told me. He said, look, take it one race at a time. We got a long way to go. I think we're going to be just fine. We focused on being fast and executing on race day. We'll be there at the end.
Josef Newgarden will always win. Remember, career win number 10, because it comes, Robin, at a very special place. Road America.
Thanks, Marty. Scott Dixon, that's right. He started 8th, finished 3rd. He's got a 45-point lead in the championship, his 6th straight podium. Just another ho-hum day, huh, Dixon?
Yeah, it was okay. You know, I think a little disappointed just with where we started. You know, I think had we had a better run in qualifying, you know, the car definitely had the speed. The PNC Bank car's been fairly quick all weekend, and in that race condition, our black stint was just phenomenal. We were able to close the gap, jump all those guys in that pit sequence. But you know, you always kind of just wish if we'd started maybe up in the first sort of 4 positions, I think we would have had a real good shot at winning this race today. But you know, congratulations to you know, Josef, drove a hell of a job there, and so did Ryan. So it was fun to make another podium.
There was one stretch there where you were closing hard on Hunter Ray and maybe had a little slip up in the last corner.
Yeah, we obviously pitted early, so you know we had the unfortunate part of the undercut, which it didn't really, you know come true. You know, had a really good run on Ryan, and I knew he'd been struggling a little bit in the last corner, but just went in too deep, man. Got a little loose, and then lost my momentum, and I think that was really the only shot I was going to have on trying to complete a pass on him while he was still getting up to speed. But they did a great job, and you know, we came in 3rd.
With 10 laps to go, the first 5 were like separated by 5 seconds on a 4-mile road course, which pretty much speaks volumes about this series.
Dude, it's so tight. You know, it is kind of tricky to get close enough right now. You know, the hard part is, you know, with the overtake,
everybody's got it, right? You can use it in defense. I think we may have to look in the future of, blocking out the car in front or, something like that. But, it's tough. The Rise IndyCar Series right now, the competition is through the roof. And, to get a podium these days is tough enough yet to get a win. So we'll keep pushing and see what we can get.
Well, now Iowa, you kind of like Iowa? Aren't you kind of an oval guy?
I like all tracks. That's the cool part about this series. We have so many different disciplines with short tracks, super speedways, road and street. We go from a 4-mile road course, and next week we're going to short track oval. So or in 2 weeks. So looking forward to that, man. Iowa should hopefully be a lot of fun.
All right, thanks. Do you see, Kevin, there's a guy with you that kind of likes Iowa, doesn't he?
Yeah, 3-time winner where we're going in just a couple of weeks. Ryan Hunter-Reay almost got his second win of the season. He's still been in the top 5 the last 5. He's kind of debriefing with the engineer and the strategist, Ray Gosselin, right now. So what'd you guys come up with? You were really close to Newgarden. Is there anything differently that you could have done?
I was hoping to make it more interesting, both for the fans here at Road America and on TV, but I thought I had the pace for him early on, especially the first 2 stints. I could really close on him when I wanted to, just getting the fuel number. I thought it was going to be a really good race between us. But then the last 2 stints, when he put on those used reds and I put on the blacks, those Firestones, he was hooked up. And in the dirty air, I had a really hard time keeping behind him in the carousel and trying to get a run on him. So I was pushing 110%, that's for sure, and that's just what we had. But the 28 DHL team did a great job in pit lane today, and big thanks to Auto Nation, also Butterball. These guys have all stood behind us, and we're doing really well right now in the points. So we just need to keep that consistency up. No doubt this team can challenge for a championship. We just need to keep the momentum rolling, and that'll be most important.
Speaking of pit lane, after your last stop, you come out chasing Newgarden, but then you're on cold tires, and here comes Scott Dixon. Tell me about that battle. We're going to get a look at that.
Yeah, that's the last guy you want to see in your mirrors when you have cold tires and he's on hot. He gave me a run for the money there, and we were able to keep it behind him and then maintain the gap. So I just couldn't, unfortunately, just couldn't catch up to Josef. I was able to close the gap a little bit here and there, but not like I was early in the race. So he found a zone for sure, and definitely the clean air out front helps. But hats off to him. Josef did a great race, and he definitely deserved the win.
All right, I mentioned going to a place that you like pretty much, but this is a new car this year. Any idea what you and the Hondas and the Andrettis are going to have at Iowa in 2 weeks?
No, we were going to go there and test. We'll see what we have. I love that racetrack, so a lot of pressure on the engineering staff to get that all right. It's going to be, it's a brand new car, so we'll have to see what we have. It's an offset everywhere we go. We just have to figure it out. So thankfully, we'll have a test there.
I think Ray Gosselin just said off camera, it's all up to the driver. If the driver does it, we'll be good.
Terrific to get the insights of the top 3 in and to hear how they really appreciated how tough that fight was. Although there wasn't a whole lot of overtaking at the front for those top 3 positions, it was a good, intense battle for a Newgarden, Hunter-Reay, Dixon podium here at Road America. We've still got a lot to come. Don't go anywhere. Lots still to come here on NBCSN today. Mecum Auto Auctions, and that's happening in Portland. You've got Red Bull Air Race from Budapest. What a beautiful place to have that race. And then earlier today, the Indy Lights race here at Road America that ran. That's coming up at 10 p.m. Eastern, and then more Mecum after that at 11. As we welcome you back in the follow-up from the Kohler Grand Prix here at Road America. A couple of guys who are really in the mix. Takuma Sato, Graham Rahal, the teammates with Kelly.
Yeah, nice day here for Team RLL. Takuma Sato, 4th place finish. Not only your best finish this season, but easily your best finish here at Road America. What was the difference out there today?
Well, I mean, we had a fast car. That's the difference. I mean, under the circumstances, we were a little struggle at the beginning of the season, but Graham and I, and obviously working really closely with the engineering side, and we share a lot of stuff, and we pick up a lot of speed at Road America. So, I mean, this is a great track, for the drivers. You commit, the time is always reflect. You can overtake on the track, and I think the fans really enjoyed today because, without yellows today, I think we had enough great, excitement in the race.
Yeah, there was some excitement there in the race. In fact, a moment between you and Alexander Rossi. No action taken, by the way. How did you see things?
Well, in the high security of the professional racing, it shouldn't be really bumping each other. Obviously, I give him a room enough, and he came inside. He just couldn't stop it and then come into me and bumping each other. He did exactly the same things to the Wickens at the start. And I'm surprised the steward didn't take any action. I'm okay with the side-by-side by all means, but just don't touch me.
All right, obviously Takuma Sato felt like he had done his the right move there, and Thought there should be action taken for Rossi. Congrats on a great finish, though. We'll turn it over to his teammate here. Graham, for you, we've been talking about consistency and yet another very solid result for you guys. Did you feel like, however, you got the tire strategy right there?
Well, you know, we went to the new reds on the third stint, and it catapulted us up into the group with Robbie and Takuma and everybody. But no, I mean, I think we needed him at the end. You know, we would just have to go back and review that because you know, we definitely needed new reds to close out. But, you know, look, at the end of the day, it was a great day out here in the Gale machine. I mean, how about that crowd? You know, it's unbelievable when you drive around there and see that many people. So thank you to everybody for coming out and supporting us. And, you know, it's just another kind of race for us. I mean, I shouldn't be disappointed, but, I mean, we want to win. You know, we finished in the top 6, 7 every single race but one this year. I mean, at some point, we got to improve enough to win these things. And, you know, today we just came up a little short, but we'll go enjoy the 4th of July and then off to Iowa.
Hey, you spent a lot of time around Robert Wickens. At one point, getting past him, it sounded like you guys were just trying to match each other, push to pass. Talk about that battle out there. Yeah,
I mean, I was trying to gauge when he was using it and have my stand tell me because I didn't want to run out. Same with Takuma. I had a few good runs, but I was burning push to pass, and I knew had we gotten a late race yellow, I was going to be in trouble if I had none. So I just decided to stop using it. We ended up getting him. You know, but Robbie coming out of the pits on the reds, first of all, he had a blindingly fast stop. And second of all, you know, he coming out of the pits on reds, the reds have so much more grip that I knew I was a sitting duck and it just couldn't hang on.
6th place finish for Graham Rahal. Marty?
Let's chat with the other end of that, Robert Wickens. And so, Robbie, he was talking about battling you there. That was fun. You probably could have made a move maybe to block him a little bit there, huh?
To be honest, at the rate he was coming, I mean, if I blocked, he would have passed me on the outside. So it was the only thing I'm kicking myself is I wish I threw it back in on the inside there because he passed and cleared me, but got back in, and then I could have actually outbroke him again on the inside. And it would have been cool, but at the time I was kind of going for overall race distance and not kind of scrapping there. So, you know, hindsight's 20/20. But luckily on that last stop, I was able to get around him on the outlap there on the reds and end up ahead of him. But it was a tough day. You know, we started 5th, finished 5th, but I feel like that's not the whole story. You know, we got up to 3rd on the start. Got pushed off by Rossi at a 6th there, which I thought was a little rude. But, you know, fell back to 7th, came back to, you know, the 5th in the end. But in the end, you know, we had a great car. We could fight for podiums all day. We just didn't have the track position to do it.
You mentioned the lap 1 thing that we're seeing right now with Alexander Rossi. And so there were other frustrations throughout the race today, too, weren't there?
There's a few. I was frustrated a couple times. I mean, those Rahal cars must have been really trimmed because when I was trying to get around Sato earlier, I was on push to pass and he wasn't, and I wasn't gaining on him. So they must have done a good job on their aero configuration. But that being said, I wouldn't say they had the ultimate fastest car. They were just really hard to get around.
Another tough spot was pit road, where we're standing right now with Simon Pagenaud trying to come to his stall. You were trying to leave. You said you did see him and checked up a little bit on your own.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because you never really see the other car, and I looked in my mirror and saw him coming in, and then you're kind of stuck in this no man's land, like, should I just go? And in the end, I decided to go, and then he went around. I mean, thankfully, there was no action taken, but it's one of those 50-50 calls, right, where if we had have not checked up, we would have been side by side with Rahal on pit exit. So I think our guys had a great stop, and I think we were pretty ambitious to try to beat at least Graham out of the pits, and we could have done it if we didn't have to check up there for Page. But luckily, everyone got through it safely, and you know, the good thing is Simon's a professional as well, and he was able to see what was happening like I did, and we avoided something that could have been bad.
A lot of people cheering for this guy. Top 5, another one for Robert Wickens, Kevin.
And Marty, it looked like Alexander Rossi was set for at least a top 5, maybe more running up front, and then worst feeling what? You can't steer the car.
Yeah, the camber shims fell out in the kink on the left front side, so pretty detrimental anywhere you go. So couldn't steer the car, as you said, and we just had to kind of nurse it back to pit lane. And from there it was, we're doing a huge amount of laps on one tank of fuel, and we made it, fortunately, and we salvaged something. But yeah, hugely disappointing. I mean, I think the Napa Auto Parts and Andretti Honda was good enough for 4th, for sure, possibly a podium if we had a good final stint there. But you know, I guess it just wasn't meant to be today.
For the issues, you were providing a lot of action, and already Robert Wickens and Takuma Sato have commented a little bit. Neither were all that pleased. We're going to let you look at it, and this is the start on the opening lap with Robbie.
Yeah. Pass him on the inside.
You see no issue?
No issue whatsoever.
Okay. I'm not a racing driver. I'm making no judgment. Now, the next one was with Takuma Sato. He was a little more vocal in that he just didn't like that there was contact there. How did you see that one?
The exact same as the first one, so that's why I did it again. And obviously, the race stewards didn't see any issue with it. So, I mean, it's IndyCar racing, man. This is hard stuff. This is wheel to wheel. You know, we talk about a lot in the drivers' meetings that, you know, the primary responsibility is the overtaking car, but, you know, once you're alongside, it's your corner. So it's their decision to stay on the outside.
We enjoyed the entertainment. Thanks so much. Thanks for hanging around, too.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Tough, disappointing day for Alexander Rossi today. From a top 5, maybe 3rd or 4th, and he finishes 16th, down to a tie for 2nd in the championship.
I tell you what, I love his style. I love the side-by-side racing. I love the bumping and grinding, but I find myself next to you all the time, Townsend. I got to tell you, don't touch me.
Well, then back off. Back off on the outside.
We'll continue this discussion when we come back. Wrapping up the Kohler Grand Prix from Elkhart Lake, Road America. That pretty much sets the scene, doesn't it? Elkhart Lake. That's what it's all about. Really popular holiday destination, place, vacation, and we are at that time of the year. And it has been an enjoyable day here at Road America. Enjoyable race from many perspectives. Obviously it went green, flag to flag, so no problem there, but a lot to take away from this event. What's the big one for you?
I think for me it's Alexander Rossi. He's very aggressive, right at the limit of what's allowed, and he minimized the point loss. Somehow he's still 3rd in points despite a disastrous day, but I love the fact that he gets his elbows out and kind of digs into the guys. It's fun.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. No, I liked the racing today. There was a lot of good action. Okay, there wasn't any passing for the lead. Newgarden put on a clinic today and what it takes to win a race in IndyCar racing. He maintained the gap, did his fuel mileage, and when he said it's good to go, he pulled out a bigger lead. So he dominated this whole weekend, but the action was really great from 2nd back to 8th.
I think one of the interesting things was when you look at the race and people might say, yeah, well, 1st, 2nd and 3rd, there wasn't really much passing and it looked, I don't want to say pedestrian, but it looked, you know, they were running line astern. But then when you hear the guys talk to say how intense it was, how hard Ryan Hunter-Reay was pushing Josef, how hard Josef had to push it, he said, Tim was coaching me. I had to follow, and I had Roger's voice in my head. Just keep it calm, stay steady, you'll be there at the end. You know, there was so much more going on than what appeared.
It's a 140-mile-an-hour average lap. That's hard to get right up behind a guy's gearbox down. It's so tough. So these cars are so fast around here.
I think also the resurgence of Ryan Hunter-Reay this season is terrific. You know, he's really coming on strong like we saw back in 2014 with his championship run. So it's been a good day, and I think the balance of the season looks really encouraging.
Very strong performance. We just heard from him. Very strong from Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan to have both team cars up there. Robert Wickens again impressing. By the way, Simon Pagenaud in the end, we didn't mention this in the race call, Simon Pagenaud did get Spencer Pigot in the end, so Spencer got 8th, which is still the best of his season. But speaking more about Pagenaud, let's hear from the Frenchman.
And 7th is his best finish on a road course or street course this year, which is hard to believe. We're in the second half of the season, but how hard was that fight? Guys were just talking about what a battle it was out there to get from starting 14th to finishing 7th.
Yeah, it was a really good race. You know, it really is a shame we didn't qualify better yesterday by 0.3 of a thousand. You know, if we qualify in the next segment, we can make adjustment to the car, which was too loose, and then it becomes a whole different story. I think we would have fought for a better position like our teammates, and the whole weekend changes. But today was a hell of a race. I had a great time. The Menards car was fast. We made a lot of passes. I had a great time. That was probably my best race here, just having fun passing people.
I know it was tough to get up there, but also on pit road, had a little bit of a run-in with Robert Wickens. How much did that set you back? You came in 7th on that stop, wound up going back to 9th, and had to get back to 7th by racing on the track.
Yeah, we're just talking about it. We think we had the pace finish 4th or 5th. That really cost us a lot, because then I had to deal with Ed Jones and Spencer Pigot again. But you know, it is what it is. It's a shame. I mean, to me that was unsafe release, because I really had to slow down. I had to stop, so I lost a bunch of time. Spencer passed me, Ed passed me on track, so it's a shame. I'm not calling the races, so I can't say anything, but it definitely cost us.
Iowa coming up next. You've kind of become where you've liked short ovals, don't you?
I'm excited to get on oval.
Hey, wait. That's a headline in itself. You're excited to get to an oval?
It is. The road course experts becoming more of an oval. I don't know. I like it better right now. I think it's just we've got to find what I like about these cars on these kind of tracks. We're getting there. It's slow, but think about it. It's all about fine details, and 3,000 of a second would have made a difference.
It was a scrap for Simon Pagenaud, Kelly, from 14th to 7th.
And finishing right behind him, Spencer Pigot, as Lee mentioned, 8th, your best results of the season. You told me yesterday you just hoped to have a good, clean race and a result would come from that. Qualified 10th, finished 8th, but was it as simple as that?
No, definitely not. You know, the start was pretty eventful for us. Obviously Will had an issue, and I kind of got boxed in behind him, and the rest of the field was just kind of streaming past me on the inside. So we fell back a lot in the first stint, or the first lap, but we were able to pass a lot of guys and move up. But overall the direct supply Chevy was really good for us, and the guys were really good in pit lane. But it was a little frustrating to get passed there by Simon on the last lap. But we did the last stint there on used reds, and we're just hanging on there. And he just got me. But overall, it was a great race. I had a lot of fun, had a lot of really good battles, and a clean race, but lots of hard driving.
All right. They've had kind of an up and down season. This is definitely a high point so far, finishing 8th. Robin?
All right. This man thought about this too late. He stormed all the way back to 10th after getting screwed at the start. Throw a water bottle out, bring out a yellow, but no, you didn't do it.
I know, I should have. In hindsight, I should have done it. It would have helped a lot. But, it is what it is. That's the way it goes sometimes.
When this whole race starts and you're thinking, okay, I got a Honda, I got a chance, and you're in the absolute worst possible place because of Will's problem.
Yeah, it was just bad luck. We were wrong place, wrong time on the start there, and we rolled the dice starting on the blacks, and we kind of needed to maintain position on the start, and then in the wrong lane, swarmed by guys on reds, it pushed us back a lot. But we had good pace over the stint, and that's what mattered. We really took care of those Firestones really well, and that's what paid dividends for us today.
I gave you a terrible stat with 10 or 12 laps to go there. The first 6 were like 6 seconds apart, and there's like 200 passes in the race. It was a hell of a race to watch. Was it fun to drive?
Honestly, that's probably the most fun I've had in an IndyCar in a long time. With the kind of race that we had, we started at the back, we fell back even further, got a bunch of guys, had a bad first pit stop, had a problem with the fuel, and lost a lot of track position, and we were just like quali laps every single time. I think we've made passes on the outside of 1, 5, 12, 2 wheels in the grass. I mean, my car's got way more tire marks on it than it has any other race so far this year. That's why we love coming to Road America, man. The racing's so good. It's such a fun place to drive an IndyCar, and with all that we had today, I'm thrilled we came back with a top 10. I mean, the Aero car was probably top 5 pace, but like I said, we had to battle back a lot. We didn't have that yellow to help us out and even out the field, so proud of the boys today.
All right, Lee, Hinch got 10th out of today.
Yes, he made something out of nothing. We was put on the back foot at the start. Time to spray the champagne if you're Josef Newgarden. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this. Ten of the 17 rounds in this year's Verizon IndyCar Series are done. And that man there, center of your screen, Josef Newgarden, the 27-year-old American, has won 3 of the 10. Looking good to defend his title. He's got some points to catch up on, though, as we show you the unofficial results, and we've heard from the majority of those drivers. Marco Andretti just missing out on a top 10. I thought it was a pretty solid day from Jordan King as well.
Yeah, nice recovery. Had some moments during the race. Quiet run from Ed Jones, but finishes with the top 10 also. And I think for a lot of these guys, they are going to start thinking about points as we're in the second half of the year and running towards Sonoma, Paul.
Yeah, the guys who really got hurt today was Bourdais. He had an issue. You look at poor Will Power came in and he's dropped, and Rossi had a problem. These guys have dropped, but they're still in the championship frame. I think really the cutoff now and the points is what's really shaping up the top 5 guys from Power on up to the leader. That's really shaping the picture for the rest of the year.
Well, to your point, let's have a look at the points, and this is how they stand. 45 the difference from Dixon back to a tie for second between Andretti Autosport teammates Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alexander Rossi, and that was the point that you brought up, Townsend, that it was very much a good effort from Rossi today of damage control.
Yeah, I mean, shockingly, with a 16th place finish, he still sits third, just 45 points back, and I immediately start thinking about what sort of tracks we have coming up. You've got Iowa, where Hunter-Reay's been so strong. We go to some places that are permanent road courses that might favor a Newgarden or a Dixon. We've got a super speedway in Pocono, so a lot yet to play out, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance for Wickens and Pagenaud and Graham to get in the championship picture, but I think right now it's the top 5 guys we're going to be focusing on from here out.
So there you have it. A beautiful day at one of the most spectacular race courses you can be at anywhere in the world. Coming up next, it's Mecum Auto Auctions from Portland And a reminder to join us in just 2 weeks' time on Sunday, July 8th at 2 o'clock Eastern for the next oval, as all of the drivers have been talking about at the Iowa Corn 300. What a day here in Wisconsin. We congratulate Josef Newgarden. We'll see you in Iowa in 2 weeks' time.